Then when we need energy, we can digest these triglycerides and convert them to the fatty acid and then use this fatty acid as a source of energy. So when we are going to use the energy content of fatty acid, we have to do oxidation, which is known as a fatty acid oxidation. The other name is beta oxidation. The beta oxidation actually occurs in mitochondria and has a 4 main steps. You should learn these 4 main steps, and also you should learn how these fatty acids converted to the acetyl-CoA and then how much energy can be produced from each fatty acids. Then we have a process which is known as a synthesis for different kind of lipids, which is known as a lipogenesis. We have a specific classes of actually lipids, which previous semester I didn't talk about them. They are known as a ketone body. We have a 3 main ketone body, how they are made, and then how we can use them as a source of energy. Today we are going to talk about this part, maybe tomorrow actually. And finally we will talk about the lipogenesis or fatty acid synthesis. In all of these steps, also we will talk about the regulation, how we can control and regulate these processes, oxidation and lipogenesis together. So if you have a look at this slide, we have an acetyl-CoA in the center of the metabolism. All kind of pathway from every places, finally they can enter to the acetyl-CoA crossroad. Acetyl-CoA is a crossroad for metabolism pathway. If you look at that from actually dietary triglyceride can be converted to the fatty acid. Okay, when we digest triglyceride, they convert to the fatty acid. This fatty acid, when we need energy, convert to the acetyl-CoA by beta oxidation pathway. And this acetyl-CoA go to the TCA cycle, which previous week you studied that, tricarboxylic acid or Krebs cycle.
Yes.
Then it produces an ADH and FADH, and FADH convert to the ATP in electron transport chain, which we will study at the last session. Again, I will teach that. So we can produce ATP from dietary triglyceride. Sometimes we need to actually synthesize fatty acid. We can produce acetyl-CoA from other sources like carbohydrate, like amino acids also. This acetyl-CoA convert to the fatty acid by fatty acid synthesis process. And this fatty acid can be used for synthesis of sphingolipid or phospholipids. Okay. Also, cholesterol as another type of triglyceride can be synthesis from acetyl-CoA. And from cholesterol, we can make another molecule like vitamin G, like bile acid, and like the straight hormone. Okay? So all of these together are related, and our body, our cell, our tissue, based on the condition and hormonal level and different actually signaling, can decide which one of these pathways should be activated and which one should be inhibited. So you should learn in the fed state and fasting state, we have a different regulation, different control, different hormone level. So these pathways also can be regulated in a different way. So related to digestion of fatty acid, yes?
Please, about the previous slide.
Yes.
So fatty acids are converted to acetyl-CoA, and then they go through the TCA cycle. But
Sometimes,
because
not all the time.
sometimes they just through the beta oxidation, they immediately become NADH.
FADH, NADH, yes, exactly.
You know, fatty acids to NADH immediately without becoming first coenzyme A first.
No, they actually, this part adding a coenzyme A is known as activation, which we are going to learn in today. You know, the fatty acid should be activated at the first step. We will learn that today. Don't worry. Let's continue, then you will actually got your response. So related to digestion of lipids, in digestion of carbohydrate, you learn the digestion of carbohydrate is most by soluble, yes, amylase. Okay. Also related to lipase or lipase, we have a lingual or soluble lipase. Okay. Lingual or soluble lipase active at the acidic pH 4.5 or actually 5.4, and just prefer to act on a short and medium chain fatty acid. And you know, medium and short chain fatty acid are the main fatty acid of milk. They are milk fat. And as you can understand, this type of lipase is so important in neonate, because neonate just use milk. Okay? This is the main lipase in neonate. Okay?
What are neonates?
The child, the baby, the newborn baby.
Oh.
Infant. Okay? Yeah, infant. Neonates is another name for infant, for newborn baby or others, because they use milk fat. And related to the how much of digestion, just near to 30% of fat during the 10 to 20 minutes can be ingested by lingual lipase. Okay? And this digestion can continue in the stomach in opposite to the amylase. As you learn, amylase is inactivated in the stomach because at acidic pH cannot be active. But soluble lipase can be active also in a stomach with low pH. So, lingual lipase is a major lipase in neonates or infant due to two problems. One, bile salt deficiency. In the first day of the life, our body cannot produce enough bile salt. For this reason, this lingual lipase is so important. And also because in the GI tract we have a low pH, also it can be active. Related to stomach lipase, in addition to lingual lipase, we have another lipase which is known as stomach lipase. Just here in the stomach, we digest lipoprotein and we remove separate protein from the lipid, or known as a proteolysis. And actually is a minority of lipoproteins in adults. This actually happened by stomach lipase. But again, in the actually infant is so important. So let's continue what's happened till here. By lingual lipase and stomach lipase, we just digest a small part of lipids, especially short and medium chain, and it's so important in neonates. But the main kind of lipase in our body is pancreatic lipase. And the main actually part of digestion of lipids happen in the small intestine. Okay, occurs in the small intestine. But because the content of gastric is acidic, which we call it chyme, is acidic. Chyme or chymos is acidic. So is known as a stomach content. This stimulates mucosa cell to release two hormones. These two hormones are so important in lipid digestion. They are known as the cholecytokinin and secretin. What is their function. Cholecytokinin action is one, stimulate gallbladder and also stimulate pancreas. For what? Gallbladder to release or secrete bile, and pancreas to release digestion. Okay? And also has another function. One of them is decrease the rate of stomach emptying. Okay? Decrease the rate of stomach emptying, and also stimulate insulin secretion. There are the three functions of cholecytokinin. And also we have a secretin, is another hormone which is stimulate actually pancreatic to produce bicarbonate. Why we need bicarbonate?
Neutralize kinase.
Neutralize the chyme acid. Okay, for neutralizing chyme acid. Exactly. So here you can find out, I think the quality of the projector is not so good. Is it clear for you? No. Can we change the actually concentration of this? Because this figure has a good quality, but I think
that's the remote. I don't think any of us know how
I
to
think it
use
has to do with the focus.
Maybe we
not
can
just focus, just related to contrast. Which one is contrast?
Secretin released from the pancreas. Secretin released from the pancreas.
لا هنطلع ليش معلومة
It's for focusing.
It's good. That's good.
It's not good.
I think the options are on it. Should have been.
There are not two options, just there are two, GT plus and minus. Zoom after that. So you can fix that. Here you can see a gut endocrine cell or intestine cell can produce two hormones, cholecytokinin and secretin. Cholecytokinin has a different function. One of them is inhibiting gastric motility, okay, to decrease the
slows the emptying.
gastric. Then has an effect on pancreas to secrete what? Pancreatic enzymes.
and
Okay.
gallbladder.
And also, if we have a secretin also has an effect on pancreas to release bicarbonate. The other function of cholecytokinin is effect on gallbladder and to secrete bile. So they are so important for digestion of lipids. Till now, we have an enzyme, we have bicarbonate to decrease the acid gain, and then this enzyme should digest the lipids. But as you know, the lipid droplets are so big, and these enzymes are small in comparison to the lipids. So they cannot digest this lipid. So what we should do? We should decrease the size of lipids. How we can do that? Emulsification. So we need emulsification here. By emulsification, the large droplet of fatty acid or triglyceride can be digested to the small droplet. Okay? I think we zoomed too much, so we lost some sentence. Emulsification is the process to disperse and stabilize fat droplet in the watery medium. Okay? Oil in water known as a emulsification. Oil in water. And as you learned in previous semester, bile made in the liver and actually is transferred to gallbladder, then its function is to help in lipid digestion. What were the component of bile? Can you remember?
Bile.
The bile is made of what? Bilirubin, exactly. Bilirubin or biliverdin should be converted to bilirubin. Then cholesterol, phospholipids, okay? Cholesterol is the main part of bile and phospholipid, then bilirubin, okay? It's made of these actually content. And we will learn the main pathway for cholesterol digestion is converting to bile and then can excrete from body. We have a pancreatic lipids. Pancreatic lipids is the main lipids for digestion of lipids, and also we have another protein which is known as a colipase, which help pancreatic lipids to digest the lipids. So here are actually related to bile salts, what they are. Actually they are amphipathic. You know the meaning of amphipathic. They have a two side, polar and unpolar, so they can react with lipid and water at the same time. And finally they lead to the decreasing the size of lipid
Fats.
content. So these bile, when secret to the intestine, actually one of the reason is for helping digestion of lipid, and then the second is bile as a final metabolite of cholesterol metabolism should be secret from our body. So some part of this bile secret from intestine in the feces, and some part is reabsorbed and transferred to the liver again, which known as an enterohepatic circulation. Maybe 70% of bile again, 70% of cholesterol or bile again transferred to the liver, which known as an enterohepatic circulation. So what is the function of pancreatic lipids and what are the products? We have triglyceride. Triglyceride has a 3 acids. Okay, fatty acid number 1, fatty acid number 2, and 3. Pancreatic lipids release fatty acid from position number 1 and position number 3. So it produces 2 fatty acid, 2 free fatty acid, and what?
2 mono.
2 monoacyl glycerol. 2 monoacyl glycerol and 2 free fatty acid. Okay? 2 monoacyl glycerol means we have just acyl glycerol in carbon number 2 is a glycerol with 1 fatty acid. 2 monoacyl glycerol.
So the 2 chains get removed and just the mono.
Yes, 1 fatty acid is removed
Oh.
and 2 fatty acid is released. Okay? Then also we have a different kind of phospholipids. You learned in the previous semester phospholipase A1, B or A2, C and D. Phospholipase A1 and A2, from phospholipids also they release 2 fatty acids. You remember the structure of phospholipids? Yes or no? Some of you. Yes. Phospholipids actually has a phosphor group and a head is an alcohol sometimes and has a 2 fatty acid. One of these they are actually unsaturated, the other is saturated. These 2 fatty acids can be removed by phospholipase A1 or A2. Okay? So here also phospholipid also digest by pancreatic lipids. In addition to phospholipid and triglyceride, we have a cholesterol in dietary lipids. Okay? And as you know, cholesterol is present as a cholesterol ester. Okay, cholesterol ester means cholesterol with fatty acid. Fatty acid plus cholesterol known as a cholesterol ester. Okay? This cholesterol ester by esterase or actually the other function of lipids can digest and produce free cholesterol and fatty acid. So what we have here, triglyceride by pancreatic lipids produce fatty acid 2 monoacyl glycerol. Cholesterol ester by cholesterol esterase produce free cholesterol and fatty acid. And phospholipid by phospholipase A2 and A1 produce one fatty acid, two fatty acid, and actually the basic structure which is known as the glycerol-phosphorus. Okay? Again, if you look at this slide, you can find out what are the product of different enzyme here. In dietary lipids, in most we have lingual lipids. So just the short and medium can be digested. Somehow cholesterol, ester, phospholipid, and triglyceride we have. Phospholipid, cholesterol, and triglyceride, they don't have any change. Just the short and medium fatty acid can be digested. Again, in the stomach, it's similar to the most. But most of the cholesterol, ester, phospholipid, triglyceride, and some short and medium chain fatty acid transfer to the intestine. In the intestine, bile salt emulsify and pancreatic enzyme degrade dietary lipids. These pancreatic, they are pancreatic lipids, esterase, phospholipase. Okay? And we have a primary product, which they are free fatty acid, 2 monoacyl glycerol, free cholesterol, and phosphoglycerol. So again, they in the intestine lumen, they transport to the enterocyte, the intestine cells. So in intestine cells, again we have to reassemble them. We have to reassemble them and produce what? Chylomicron. And as a form of chylomicron, we can transport the dietary lipids. Then in the next slide we will talk about the chylomicron, what is it and how we can actually transport it. Is a cholesterol ester when we remove fatty acid, produce cholesterol and fatty acid. Is actually phosphatidylcholine as a phospholipids, which we can remove 2 fatty acid and glycerol-phosphocholine remain for us. And triglyceride when we remove 2 fatty acid, 2 fatty acid and 2 monoacyl glycerol is remain. So they are the smaller component of Salam, صباح الخير. شلونك؟ A smaller component including free fatty acid, 2 monoacyl glycerol, isophosphatidic, bile salt, free cholesterol, and glycerol. They are in the intestine cell. Then they can transfer or absorb by enterocyte by passive or simple diffusion as a form of micelle. You know what is the micelle? They are actually lipid bilayer, and then we have a microvilli of enterocyte which they can actually absorb and help to the absorbing of these lipids. Related to cholesterol, near to 50% of dietary cholesterol is absorbed, and 50% of cholesterol is not absorbed at all. And actually one of the reasons some clinician, especially heart clinician, heart specialists, they don't believe that just by actually managing your diet, you cannot decrease the cholesterol content in your body, is because of that. Some scientists and some actually references, they believe near to 90% of cholesterol in our body is endogenous synthesis in our body. 90%. For this reason, you should manage endogenous cholesterol, not the dietary cholesterol. Actually, is some assumption, and we cannot actually say it's correct or wrong. Related to bile salt, near to 70%, 75% is reabsorbed in the intrahepatic circulation. So, finally, free fatty acid absorbed into the enterocyte without any problem, because they are small and they can they can transfer easily. Short chain fatty acid go directly into the blood. Okay, so short chain fatty acid from the enterocyte directly transfer to the blood and go to the liver and other cells. But the longer chain fatty acid, they re-esterified to form triglyceride or fat, phospholipids, and cholesterol ester. Reassemble. Okay? And these newly formed fat actually is content free cholesterol, cholesterol ester, phospholipid, and other kind of triglyceride, and actually receive some protein from Golgi apparatus and produce as a form of actually produce chylomicron and then transfer to the web. Chylomicron transfer to the lymph system, okay, lymph circulation, then transfer to the blood. So here you can see what's happening for the lipids. Cholesterol by actually acid transferase convert to the cholesterol ester. Long chain fatty acid actually, they first of all they have to receive CoA to activate, then they produce fatty acid CoA. These fatty acid CoA can add to the monoacylglycerol, and finally they produce triglyceride. Okay, so triglyceride, cholesterol ester, and also some other lipids, they produce chylomicron. I think some part of them is another also. It's known as a actually.
So the chylomicron has to go to through the lymphatic system,
Yeah, exactly.
and then to the blood.
Yes. So is another actually for nothing is not clear here. Short chain fatty acid directly transfer to the blood. But these kind of fatty acid, 2-monoacylglycerol, triglyceride, phospholipid, they reassemble as a form of chylomicron, then they will transfer to the lymph and then to the lipid. So related to lipid male absorption, if we have any kind of abnormality in lipid digestion, it leads to the condition which is known as a steatore, or actually fatty feces. Is known as a fatty feces or excess lipid in the feces. Okay, fatty feces. Why? Because we cannot digest them and then they excrete in feces. So what are the sources of lipid digestion problem? One of them is decreasing the production of bile. When we have a dysfunction in bile, we cannot digest lipid very well. Also related to pancreatic juice or pancreatic enzyme, bicarbonate enzyme, all of them. If we have a problem in pancreatic action, also they leads to the actually steatoria. Steatoria actually is a sign of the lipid digestion or lipid disturbance function. We have a different abnormality here, you can see. Bile salt deficiency, they can be due to the liver disease. Any kind of liver disease, hepatitis, actually jaundice also, yes, somehow. And then fatty liver, alcoholic fatty liver, non-alcoholic fatty liver, all of them, they can lead to the bile salt deficiency. And they lead to the lipid malabsorption, which is known as a chalky or clay color. The S2 color is a clay or known as a chalky. Chalky means is fatty. We have another disease which is known as a pancreatic enzyme deficiency, which the most common of pancreatic enzyme deficiency is known as a cystic fibrosis. Cystic fibrosis, and also we have a chronic pancreatitis. You know what is cystic fibrosis?
Yes.
What is it?
It's about, I don't
Yeah,
know,
I think
it's
about
about
it.
the origin, I think, I'm not sure, because we do that analysis.
So how we end?
Is it cysts that just occur
That have fibers.
in the liver?
Not just in the liver.
In the
Just like the ones in the ovaries?
Okay, just let's do research together. CF actually is related to CFTR. What is the CFTR? Is known as a cystic fibrosis transmembrane conductase regulator. What is it? In a simple, is a channel of color, channel of color or chloride. Okay, and it's convert chloride and bicarbonate together in the actually intestine and also in the lung. If we have a problem in this gene, CFTR is a sodium chloride channel, okay? Sodium chloride channel. Because the pancreatic has a problem, also lung has a problem. Most of the people with this problem, this genetic disease, they can't be alive more than 15, 16 years. They will die, all of them, okay? It's so actually dangerous mutation. This time they have some gene therapy for this disease, but it's not so actually routine and common. One of the actually screening tests for CFTR is evaluation the amount of chloride in the sweet for in the baby. They can actually evaluate the amount of chloride. If chloride was high in their sweet, it means they have this gene mutation and they should be treated with different way. So this day they will do this test for neonates at the early days. It's known as a screening test. So till now we learned how dietary lipid digested and then absorbed, and right now we have a chiromarker. So right now I'm going to have a brief review again on lipoprotein, different structure, and then we will talk about the metabolism of each of these lipoprotein in details. So you can actually remember from the previous semester the lipoprotein structure was this shape. They contain free cholesterol in the membrane, and also they have a phospholipid in the membrane and some protein. This protein can be actually peripheral or integral, which is known as apoprotein. And non-polar lipids, they are in the core, like triglyceride and cholesterol ester. Related to function of lipoprotein, they can transport fat-soluble vitamin D, E, A, and K. They transport by lipoprotein. They transport fat-soluble drug also. When we eat drug and this drug is fat-soluble, they should transport by lipoprotein and delivery cholesterol to the steroid hormone producing tissue. You know, we have some tissue, some cell which they produce different kind of steroid hormone. They need cholesterol, and this cholesterol should be received from lipoprotein from the plasma. So another function of lipoprotein is transporting cholesterol, and they have a critical role in atherosclerosis. You know, we have the main health problem in the world. The first causes of this in the world is heart disease in all the world, especially just in Iran, the accident are in the first one, and then the heart disease is the second, because of quality of car and road and everything. And then atherosclerosis today is the biggest problem for world health. So we should know some point related to atherosclerosis and how it actually occurs, what is the main reason of atherosclerosis, which is related to LDL metabolism. you actually learn about the apoprotein function. What they were, apoprotein function. They have a three main functions. One of them is the structural, the regulatory, and mediation. So, related to the structural, you know some part of this, some kind of this apoprotein, they are part of lipoprotein. For example, ApoB100, ApoC, ApoE, all of them. Okay. Then they have a regulatory. Related to regulatory, what can you remember from previous semester?
Receptors.
This mediation is known as a receptors. Okay. Related to regulatory, they can be cofactor for enzyme. Some kind of them. For example, if you remember, ApoC2 was cofactor for lipoprotein lipids. Lipoprotein lipids. And the others, completely forget. Okay? Yes. You will actually learn it this semester, and if you don't learn it, you in the next semester, and also it's continuing in the next semester again till you learn it. Related to mediation is related to actually the receptor and ligand activity. Okay? Some kind of this apoprotein acts as a ligand for receptors. ApoB100 acts as a ligand for LDL receptor. ApoE acts as a ligand also for some of remnant receptor. In the classification or categorization of lipoprotein, we have a two-way for categorization. One of them is based on electrophoresis, and the second is based on the centrifugation. Okay? Based on electrophoresis, we have a different bands. Actually, if we extract the protein plasma and do electrophoresis, we should have this bond. Albumin, alpha 1, alpha 2, beta, and gamma. Okay, they contain all kind of beta protein or gamma protein or alpha protein. Okay, some kind of this protein known as a lipoprotein. HDL is in alpha protein. Why? Because it has it contains more protein and actually has a more movement. So after HDL, we have a VLDL in a pre-beta, and also we have a LDL in a beta. Chylomicron, they cannot move. They remain at the origin. And related to density, you know, we have a chylomicron very low, low, intermediate, and also high density. Here again, you can see the electrophoresis. In the origin, we have a chylomicron without any movement because they don't contain protein, just a little small amount of protein they have. For this reason, they can't move. Then LDL in beta, VLDL in pre-beta, and HDL in alpha lipoprotein beta. About apoprotein here, it's the characteristics of apoprotein. A1, you don't need to know about the molecular weight, just is a principal protein in HDL, and its function is activation of ALCAT. We will learn what is the meaning of activation of ALCAT. Just remember, A1 is necessary for activation of ALCAT. A2 actually occurs mainly again in HDL, just that. These points I mentioned, they are important, not the others. ApoB48 found only in chylomicron. Found in only in chylomicron. ApoB100 is a principal protein in LDL and act as a LDL receptor. Actually, it is a ligand for LDL receptor. ApoC1 found in all kind actually ensemble and activate again LCAT, ApoC2, find in chylomicron, VLDL and HDL and activate lipoprotein, lipase, and ApoC3 find in all kind of lipoprotein and inhibit lipoprotein lipase. Okay? And ApoD just found in HDL. Another name for ApoD is CETP, which means cholesterol ester transfer protein. It's so important, this protein. I will talk about that in HDL metabolism. Okay. CETP also another name is ApoD. And ApoE found in chylomicron, VLDL, IDL, HDL, and actually act as a ligand of LDL receptor. How are you, Sajjad? Sajjad. Okay. Bind to the LDL receptors is the function of apoprotein. Again, here you can have a brief property and characteristic of apoprotein. For example, chylomicron has ApoB48, LDL ApoB100, and actually HDL, the ApoD and A1 are the main apoprotein. Again, related to the characteristics, HDL has the highest density, highest protein, and also highest phospholipid content. And chylomicron is the biggest one and has the highest amount of triglycerides. These characteristics